We call it The Dynasty. It's a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm Chris Stewart, along with the multi-time national champions, A.J. McCarron, Trent Richardson. Glad you're with us, and if you're glad you're with us, we hope that you will like, subscribe, review, rate us across social media at The Dynasty Bama, and also you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, among other platforms. Wherever you get the show, just go to thedynastybama.com. Coming up today, it's Georgia week. We'll preview the matchup between Bama and the Dogs. DJ Shockley, the former Georgia quarterback, now a part of the Bulldogs Sports Network, will be joining us. And also, we'll take a look at some big picture takeaways from around college football and the SEC. But, guys, let's get into it, talking about Bama and the Bullies. And yes, Georgia is a 3.5-point favorite in Athens, which means what exactly, AJ? Let's go that route first.
It means they're home.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I mean, from a betting standpoint, it means they're
9
they're
out of
playing at
10
home.
for Bama in this series. The only one obviously gave Georgia a ring, but 9 out of 10 is absolute domination in a series, which is amazing considering Georgia, by and large, during that time, has dominated everybody else.
Yeah. I don't know if the 9 out of 10 has such an effect on from a player standpoint. I think if anything, it's more of the coaching staff because I mean they just haven't played well in a lot of those games, as well as you would have thought, or even when they probably could have been, had the slight advantage from a roster standpoint in some of those games from depth and how they were playing during that time. But it, for whatever reason, it definitely, I mean, Kirby's not going to admit it, but it's got a hold on them and their coaching staff. This is one series that has really affected them from a sense of winning the ultimate prize and the ultimate goal that they want to achieve. So it's going to be an awesome game. I really think so. The atmosphere is going to be just absolutely electric, and it'll be a great matchup for both sides.
Trent is an alum. Pretty exciting when these two get together, especially as a Bama alum, knowing that it's gone Bama's way a whole lot more than Georgia's.
Yeah, it's exciting when these teams get together, but for me, I'm more excited to see like what Kirby's gonna dial up because they haven't been playing really good. I ain't gonna say really good. They started slow last week against Tennessee. Tennessee scored 21 points in the first quarter, and we know that's how Bama did it last year. They tore them up in the first half, and they came back and fought in the second half. And so for me, and that's for both squads. Like, can y'all put a full game together? Because Bama has been, starting fast and don't finish, or they finishing strong and don't start fast sometimes. So for me, and that's a challenge to both coaching staffs, like, can y'all put a whole game together?
So with that in mind, AJ, you got even though Bama's done well in the regular season matchups, I like them better in SEC title games. 4-0 in the SEC championship, 1-1 in national championship games, 2 legendary matchups. You've also already addressed this basically, but do you think mentally it plays in at all in that locker room, or is it strictly in the coach's meeting room that it plays in mentally?
Yeah, I think it's just coaches alone. Listen, I mean, from a turnover standpoint, I mean, both schools, everybody in college football as a whole, you have so many kids leaving, going in. I'm not always saying these two teams, but just in general of college football. I don't know if a program and the athletes within that program know the history behind each rivalry or each game and the past as much as like we did during our time, because you were there for, you had dudes there for 5 years that didn't leave, like, and so they know, the history of, hey, since we've been there, but also before us because we were getting recruited there during that time. So um I don't know if it's from that sense. I mean, the coaching staff alone, they've Kirby's had a ton of those guys since he's been there, especially on the defensive side. I mean, Glenn Schumann was one of the first to come over with him, and
Yeah.
Glenn's been there, I think the whole entire time. So from that sense, I think it's just way more into the coaching staff and feeling the pressure of, even Kirby's biggest knock for the first couple years was, oh, can he win the big game? Like it just seemed like he couldn't get over that hump, and then he finally wins it all. And um, so this is always considered that big game for him that I mean, hell, 9 out of 10 that they've struggled, right?
Yeah.
So when Kirby has had pressure from the fan base and throughout media, throughout the country, this has been that game. So I definitely think it's more into the coaching staff.
Trent, even though Bama's dominated numbers wise in this one, has this rivalry, especially since Kirby's gotten there, become what Alabama LSU was when you guys were playing in Tuscaloosa?
That's tough.
Because LSU still means a lot. I mean, it's not like that rivalry's gone away.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to go away. And I think this year that LSU and Bama game going to be it's going to be a good rivalry, kind of like how we had it when we was playing.
Yeah.
But it's tough to call because I didn't get to play against Georgia because they wasn't they was okay. They wasn't making to the SEC. They wasn't winning national championships, or they didn't have Kirby. So it's tough to say because that LSU and Bama, the game of the century, like you'll never get that again.
Yeah.
Now I will say Joe Burrow and Tua when they went at it, even though it was down some players, Tua just came out surgery. But I think that was
Yeah.
that was a good one. But I think that's the next closest thing in this day and age. And I'm looking at the stats right now, man. Georgia let up a ton of rushing yards last week against Tennessee. They had a guy with 73 yards, had a guy with 38 yards, had a guy with 32 yards, had a guy with 29 yards. So Bama need to look at that. Like, they kind of weak on the inside, or they kind of weak on out, whatever it is. They was able to move the ball and running. They had 3 rushing touchdowns. So,
AJ, one more history deal. Trent talks about the fact that he didn't play a lot of the championships with Georgia, or Georgia wasn't involved in the championship. You played in a game, and I just see you throw into Amari over and over and over. And that was the national championship game that year. You and Georgia, the winner was going to beat Notre Dame, and I think that's part of what stung so bad for them. That was Mark Richt. That was before, and his tenure may have extended. He may still be the coach at Georgia if they had
100%.
found a way to win that ball game, because they probably would have been able to get over the hump and do more.
Oh, 100%. And that's why I kind of alluded to, even they fired, I think, Coach Rick after a 10-win year, possibly.
9 or 10, yeah.
Yeah, it was 9 or 10.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
one
up
of his
there.
best seasons.
And they let him go. But his biggest knock was not being able to win the biggest game of the season. So for Kirby, I felt like when he first got there, especially, it was that same type of talk and pressure. And then when it comes to this game, right, like this series was always the biggest game of the year, whether it was regular season or we're in the national championship or we're in the SEC championship, whatever it was. Like, this was the biggest game of the year. And Bama just had their number and really has had their number throughout the whole deal. So, I mean, I don't know if this series is as hyped up as LSU and during our time. One, because of Saban left LSU to go to the pros, and
Right.
then it lasts there a year and then comes right to us at Bama. Kirby left on good terms. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
After winning a ring.
yeah, it was after winning a ring. Like, and everybody knew. Listen, he played there. Like,
Sure.
alma mater. Like, he was going to go there at some point if he had that opportunity. So I don't think there was a bad blood um, sense in this whole deal like it was with LSU and Coach Saban, and that's kind of what made that rivalry, so special. But
That not playing every year too.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So, uh, listen, I'm just excited. I think this game's going to be really good.
I do too. Last year, good grief, 813 yards combined through the air, 41-34. Bama had it, won at halftime, nearly lost it. And then the 4 + 2 = 6 takes place, and then Bama gets a pick at the end of the game to hang on. In terms of it being wide open offensively, do you expect a similar style, or do you think this will be very different? I would imagine Georgia would prefer it to be a very different style.
Well, listen, what changed the game last year was how many turnovers the Bama defense created in the first half, right?
Yeah.
That's what swung the game. I mean, Carson looked confused. Kane did a great job of pre-snap, post-snap, changing it up. Now, Gunner's a different quarterback than what Carson Beck is. I think that was, evident last year. I think, again, it shows this year, Carson having the great year he's having so far at Miami and being comfortable in that offense. And that offense looks completely different from the Georgia offense to this year. So, but I think the biggest thing key in last year's game was the Bama defense, because you created so many turnovers, especially in the first half. Uh, you had a massive turnover right before halftime that you were able, I believe, to double up coming out of the second half. So there's so many factors from that sense to where I don't know if this is an offensive shootout.
Yeah.
It could be. I mean, hell, it could be the Tennessee and Georgia game of this year. It seemed like they were just going back and forth the whole time, but hopefully Bama's defense can, create some turnovers, like they did, against Wisconsin. And so I think that could be the biggest key of this game, and trying to slow this offense down. Because listen, there was one knock going in for Georgia's offense going into the Tennessee game, and it was, hey, Gunnar Stockton hasn't completed a pass over 30 yards, or they haven't had a pass play over 30 yards. And hey, we're going to make this kid throw it deep. Well, then Georgia comes out, I think first or second play, and they hit a go ball like early. Like, I mean, they came out throwing, and they kept throwing deep and letting Gunnar sling it around, which I think maybe surprised Tennessee's defense a little bit, because they were playing their first three opponents. They really weren't having to show a ton, right? I mean, they were old school Georgia, like handing the ball straight downhill, some play action. I think they were very bland in their concepts and everything in the first couple of weeks of the season, and then they came out throwing, and Gunnar had a great game, and so it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup.
Trent, same logos, but very different players wearing those helmets, those uniforms. A lot of changes for both sides since last year. But do you expect it to look similar to last year at all?
That's tough. In correction on what I said earlier, I meant Georgia ran the ball pretty good last game against Tennessee. But to answer your question, it's gonna be tough because I mean you see like AJ said, you seen last year, Georgia only rushed for 80 yards last year.
Yeah.
We rushed for 173. I think we had 574 yards overall. We still passed the ball for 375. 374. They passed the ball for 439. So for me, the challenge to the defense is y'all got to be a balanced team all the way around. And like AJ said, create turnovers, rush the passer, make that doggone quarterback beat you instead of the run game. Because we know that they have been elite this year at the run game. They have been pretty solid with that old school run game. So pressure the quarterback, make his tail, get frustrated. I think last year they went 5 for 5 on fourth down. We can't have that this year. And we had more penalties. We had 10 penalties for 90 yards. They only had 6 for 50. But we caused turnovers. We had 3 interceptions. We had 1 fumble. I mean, they fumbled the ball once. So we threw an interception, but we held the ball 32 minutes and 34 seconds. How can you beat that when we can drive the ball? It's one of those things to where we started so fast last year to where they couldn't keep up in the first half. And they made adjustments. And trust me, Kirby's going to adjust to any offense and whatever offense you got out there because he's
the best in the country.
Yeah, he's the best in the country. I've seen it. I've been in the same room. I've seen him make adjustments on a run. When they come out that room, when the coaches get done talking, he's the first person you hear coming out that doggone locker room, coming into the locker room. That's the first person you hear, and he's always getting us riled up. And I mean, he get us riled up on the offensive side, and we can just hear what he's saying on the defensive side. Just hearing his presence. So to think about it, man, to me, it's going to be an exciting game. It's going to be one of those slug matches, hopefully. That's my expectation for it. So I still take Bama.
If it is a close game, I think it comes down to what coaching staff makes the best halftime adjustments. If it's not a game of somebody dominating the turnover margin and it's a back and forth in the first half, whoever can make those adjustments at halftime. And listen, I think, like Trent said, I think Kirby is the best in the country at halftime adjustments.
Yeah.
I've seen it. We both have seen it so many times. He's proven it throughout his coaching career. I mean, he really is. He's a special dude when it comes to halftime adjustments, and that could be an interesting factor of the game.
All right, guys. A little bit later in the show, we'll talk about the quarterback matchup and maybe get into the, as time permits, getting into Bama's defense and how they've created negative plays and forced some turnovers, but also the likely return of Jam Miller and Tim Keenan, what that could look like for this particular matchup. When we come back, we're going to talk with the other side just a little bit. DJ Shockley, the former Bulldog quarterback and now part of their radio network, will be joining us when we come back here on The Dynasty. It's a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Breakfast might be the most important choice you make all day. That's because with Wendy's 2 for $3 breakfast, you can mix and match your very own perfect pairing of our delicious morning favorites.
With this breakfast deal, the choice is all yours, not someone else's. And isn't that how it should be? It's your breakfast, after all, not Martha's. She can pick her own breakfast. This one's all for you, no matter what you choose, from our sausage biscuit with that grilled breakfast sausage, or the egg and cheese biscuit with fresh cracked grade A egg and melty American cheese on a fluffy buttermilk biscuit, a small size of perfectly seasoned potatoes, or a medium hot coffee to power through the morning. All you got to do is pick your ideal morning pair.
You really can't lose because you're the one calling the shots. The choice is all yours.
Wake up to Wendy's 2 for $3 breakfast just the way you want it. Limited time only during breakfast hours. U.S. price and participation may vary. No substitutions, not valid in a combo. Single item at regular price. Glad you're with us here on The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And I believe this is our first real guest that we've had on the podcast. And it's a great one to have, especially with the game this week. Former Georgia quarterback who's now a part of their radio network as a sideline reporter. It's great to have DJ Shockley with us. DJ, I'm gonna start with a real question, and then I'll just let you get into whatever you guys are going to get into later, and I'll sit back and enjoy it with everybody else. But Gunnar Stockton's the guy now at quarterback for the Dogs after you had a really good one in Carson Beck year or two previously. What's different about those two guys as a quarterback? What makes Gunnar as successful as he's been early on?
Well, first of all, I appreciate y'all guys having me. And, obviously, bringing on the Georgia boy on this. The Dynasty is I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, you heard the name of it,
man.
The Dynasty.
I ain't gonna hate on it's all good. But yeah, man, I appreciate y'all having me. And when you talk about the two quarterbacks, obviously Carson was a little bit different from Gunnar, as Gunnar is more, I would say, to himself, kind of. He just a lead by example kind of guy. Not to say Carson wasn't a lead by example guy, but Carson was more outspoken. He was more vocal. Gunnar's not as outspoken as he is. I think Gunnar is more athletic than Carson is. Carson could throw it through a car wash. He had one of those kind of arms. Not to say Gunnar doesn't. Gunnar has shown to make every throw on the field too. But they were just two different personalities, I believe, in the two quarterbacks. And then their games are a little bit different as well. I think we've seen some of that this year with how Georgia's had to change how they go about their offense as opposed to, how they were last year. But I think just differently, they just personalities are different. The way they carry themselves, the things inside the locker room are a little bit different. But both are obviously top-tier quarterbacks, the reason why they're playing in the SEC and the reason why, they're at the helm of the programs they are right now because of their abilities.
All right. Chris asked this earlier in the show and asked our opinion. 9 out of 10 last matchups, Bama's gotten the best of you. Do you what do you account that to? Like, do you think there's a mental hold? And I've said this. I think it's more of a players. It's not so much on the players, because today's era of football, guys just don't know the history behind programs and the rivalries and the battles in the past. Would you think it's more on the players, this mental hold, or is it more on this coaching staff with multiple guys coming from Alabama?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest. And you spot on with obviously players not knowing what happened. A lot of these guys don't know what happened 5 years ago as opposed to what happened 10, 15 years ago. But I think Kirby does a really good job of putting that in the forefront. I mean, he lets them know what happened this year, that year. I'm sure he will absolutely, play the film of what happened last year, being down 20, whatever it was, to nothing, and just being kind of boat raced out of that ball game early and find a way to come back. But I think it's a little bit of both. I think coaches understand what this game means, especially if you've been in this rivalry for a long time and you've seen what happened. And there's been times where maybe Georgia's came in, like the last few years, come in and they were favorites, or they came in and everybody thought this is finally the team that will beat Alabama, and Bama finds a way to do it. And then it becomes the players too. The players like, what else we got to do that? What else we got to do to beat these dudes? Like, we feel like we're the best, coach team. We feel like we're the most talented team. Maybe Alabama's not where they are in a couple key spots here or there. And you're like, okay, we could, kind of get that matchup the way we want it. And then, as we know, you still got to play the game. You gotta line up, and you got to get between those white lines, and you gotta square up. And I think a lot of times when things have gone against Georgia, or things happen early in a ball game that affects you, like I remember a few years ago when Georgia said, all right, we're going to make Milroe beat us from the pocket. And this dude was beating us from the pocket. And you're like, all right, what do you do now? Then he started using his legs. And you're like, okay, the plan we thought that should work isn't working. And this guy's playing above and beyond. It makes you kind of question yourself a little bit on both, from coaches and players. And then you get punched in the face a couple of times. You're like, man, how are we going to survive this? And I think last year, the confidence you had to be able to get back in that game and have a chance to win it, and then get it snatched away again, they won't admit it. I actually sat down with Kirby today, sat down with a couple players today, and they won't admit it, but it's absolutely one of those games where you're like, you know what? It feels a little bit different. And you definitely want to have this game because of, like you mentioned, 9 out of 10 is crazy. And everybody thinks about, you look at Georgia's record since Kirby's been there the last 5 years, and it's insane. And then you say, okay, they got like 6 losses, but like 3 or 4 of them come from Alabama. So you're like, it's just one of those things.
I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna come from Bama.
Guess what? Y'all got to come to us, so it's gonna be y'all
Man,
good.
listen, man.
Y'all ain't been there in a minute.
We
Won last time we were there, though.
last time we was there, it was a blackout, right?
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Nobody remember that. That was a long time.
I guess when y'all come to Tuscaloosa, y'all get the treatment of, Coach Saban got COVID, and he's not gonna be at the game, and we're gonna win. When that type of stuff happened, like,
it's not like excuse. I don't know. I mean,
it wasn't an excuse for us because we still won the game. So, I mean, I was trying to help y'all out a little bit. I mean,
no doubt.
I don't know what you want me to do. I'm trying to. Nah, man, but with the traditional running game that y'all has had, like, been very successful with, and this year, they've been able to run the ball. Looking at games like Tennessee, what can we do better, or what can y'all do better to put that game away and not to be in that situation? To, like, teams are jumping out on, like, big time teams are jumping out on y'all. What I've seen the last 2 years, and it's only been a couple. Bama being one, 21 points in the first quarter. Is that a testament to where, like, hey, Kirby, you got to draw something else up in the first half, because he's a hell of a coach in making adjustments in the second half. We were just talking about that earlier. So, like, what do you think that come to?
You know what? I think the biggest thing is they talked about it and they've stressed it. It's one of the last things Kirby says when he leaves the locker room about starting fast. And for some odd reason, they just have not been able to start fast. And then you look at some of those games, like a Bama game, you look at those situations, the guys are in place. They're there. Like, it's not like they're just busted coverages and guys are wide open. It's like, okay, they do want it a little bit more. I mean, the 2 crazy catches that Ryan had last year, it's dudes right there in phase. They just don't make the play. Same thing happened in Tennessee. You got dudes who are in phase with the receivers, and they go up and make the play. So I think those are things that are very correctable, and I think that's why Kirby is okay, because he feels like there are certain little details in a guy's game, or maybe something that they see that they can make adjustments to. And I think it's going to be kind of copycat. We know in this league, if one team does it to you next week, guess what? We're going to draw it up. We're going to put it in the same way. It's going to be same formation. We're going to have to stop it. And I think it's going to be the same thing. I mean, you guys got some dynamic receivers, quarterback taking care of the football, hadn't turned it over yet. And that's a big thing coming into this ballgame, is being able to start fast. And I think, especially at home, you want to be able to keep the crowd in it. And I think that's a big thing. Last year in Alabama, obviously, it was crazy. Everybody was going bananas. And you had the crowd in it, and you had everybody behind you. You feed off that energy. Guys are making more plays than usual because of that energy in the building. I think Georgia has to do something similar. You got to have something good go for you early in the ballgame, whether it's a first drive, you go down and get points, or you can't have a 3-and-out, can't have a turnover. Those kind of things affect the flow of the game. And I think for the last couple of years, that's been a big issue. Is, I don't say they just need to calm down early, but it's just they haven't had the starts they want. And then now you got to go in at halftime. You got to make all those crazy adjustments and try to get back right. But over the past few years, you're right. The starts have been horrendous, and it's something that they've stressed on both sides of the ball, not just offense, but defense as well, starting a little bit faster and giving yourself an opportunity.
I got 2 more for you. First one, I want to get your thoughts on what would you say is the reason behind the struggles from a defensive standpoint, from just only having 4 sacks all season, and then watching that Tennessee game with Aguilar. And listen, I know Heupel's offense and being able to spread and the splits puts nickels and jack linebackers and dudes in areas of the field that they're not used to. Mm-hmm. But I was kind of surprised with, one, not getting the pass rush that you usually see from a Georgia defense on the quarterback, at least getting more hurries on him. but also allowing so many explosive pass plays. And from a guy like Kirby, that is a secondary guy, I mean, and also learned under, probably the best secondary guy in all of college football and Coach Saban. Um, what do you think those reasons are on why they're, from a pass rush standpoint and then giving up so many explosive plays?
It's crazy. It's kind of twofold because they have played a lot of zone over the past, few weeks. And obviously you get into the Tennessee game. That's the first real game that the defense was kind of tested. You know what I mean? You
Yep.
play Austin P, you play Marshall. As we know in those games, you can be real vanilla. You don't play a lot of things. So you get into this Tennessee game and you're like, okay, now we can try to be a little bit more exotic, try to see which guys can hold up on the outside in man coverage, because you can't sit back and let a guy like Aguilar just sit in the pocket and throw the football. And then you're still kind of young up front. You're trying to figure out which guys can use in certain packages. And then, okay, we do bring the blitz. How comfortable are we playing man on the backside and allowing those guys to lock up one-on-one and go get it? And I think that's part of the equation too, is understanding which guys can do that and understanding which guys you want to leave on the island or can leave on the island. And it's interesting because you mentioned Kirby. Obviously, they have Muschamp for a while. Schumann's a really good coach. You got T-Rob. You guys know T-Rob really well. T-Rob is a dog back there when he's coaching. And I think it just comes down to want to, because as you know, you got Kirby and T-Rob, two guys who know this game in and out. Shu knows it really a game in and out. Those guys can only put you in place. You got to go make the plays. And I think that's part of the problem is those guys are in position. The guys are there, but who knows what happens when that ball's in the air? Which guy's going to panic? Which guy's going to hold a guy? And I think that's been part of the issue too, is trying to figure out, okay, when do I bring pressure? When do I sit back? And then when you do sit back and you don't get home, he has all day to pick you apart and find a zone. And we know in this league, quarterbacks, you give them 4 or 5 seconds, they're going to find somebody open. And I think that's kind of what happened versus Tennessee is you tried to pick your times when to go after Aguilar, then they made it picked it up. And then you got one-on-one on the outside, and your guy just doesn't make the play when he's in position. So I think this is going to be another big-time game to try it, because I don't think you're going to be able to do that with Ty as well. He's an experienced guy who's seen a lot, knows a lot. And if you give him opportunity to sit back there, he's going to find some dudes open. But I think you have to pick your times to go get him. You got to change up those looks. And you guys know it as good as I do. Pre-snap to post-snap has got to be a big part of this ball game. How you change it up, what it looks like, where guys are coming from, which guys are coming, which guys are, showing. And I think if you can get him to hold it or a couple extra seconds, then maybe your rush can get home. And I think that's a big part of the game as well, is trying to create those matchups with the backers to get after some of those running backs. You know what I'm saying, Trent, to make sure that you can get home.
He's
I
got
don't
props,
hear nothing
AJ.
you talking about. I got 2 crystal balls over here with 2 natties. So I don't know what you talking about. Big dog.
I feel you. I gotta let you have it. I can't do that about it. It's all good.
My last one, if seeing into the future, if somebody says, hey, they win this game and you found, Georgia wins this game, what are the reasons you think they win the game for?
I think number one, they run the football. I think if they're able to run the football like they did versus Tennessee, that takes a lot of pressure off Gunner. But then also Gunner will obviously be a part of that run game, and having to account for that 11th guy, the quarterback, as we know, is a big deal. So if you can run the football, keep yourself in those third and manageable situations, it doesn't put tons of stress on your quarterback. And then I think on the other side of the ball, I think you got to limit the big plays. And that's something that's hurt Georgia versus Tennessee, it's hurt versus Alabama. Every game that this game has played in, Alabama has made big plays down the field. They've created those explosives, whether it's in the run or pass game, and it's hurt Georgia. So I think if you can play top down on the defensive side and make them go earn it, then you got a better chance. As we know, it's hard for an offense to go 9, 10, 11 plays without a false start, without a delay of game, without a holding. All that kind of stuff plays a factor in it. I think you make them earn it, then you got a good chance of being successful in this ball game, especially at home. Hopefully the crowd noise is where it's supposed to be, but I think on offense, you have to run the rock. I mean, Georgia's going to have to hit some explosive as well, going to have to back that Alabama defense up because know they're athletic, know they can get after you, know they got some dudes on that D-line who are nasty, who can change the game for you. But if you can run the football, that helps you in the pass game. So I think those are 2 big factors in the game. If they're able to run it and play top down and limit those big plays. Because, there's going to be times where you're going to be one-on-one and they're going to take those shots and you may get them. But you can't have 4, 5, 6 explosive plays in this ballgame and expect to go win it.
DJ, generous with your time. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
No doubt. Appreciate y'all. And Trent, you still my dog. You in that 3, so we all good, baby.
Hey, listen, you one of the reasons why I would.
My dog.
Here on the Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Time for our must-watch games of the week. They're brought to you by WonderFan. It's the app that pays you to be a fan. It's absolutely free to use. You can earn rewards for doing things that you already love doing, attending games, watching live sports on TV, and participating in contests. The new face that you see on there, we were told it was a special guest comedian, Henry. Thought it was going to be Henry Cho, but still, Henry Markham. It's it's good to see you. Nonetheless, Henry, we appreciate it. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, sorry to disappoint all the Henry Cho fans.
Both of you.
Yeah, comedian is it's generous. Thank you. My girlfriend doesn't think so at all. I am guys fired up to be here. You guys are all awesome. Grew up watching and listening to all of you without aging anybody. We're all pretty close in age. I'm just want to point that out there.
Well, not Chris, but
yeah, not Chris.
True. You're exactly right.
Sorry, Chris. And
You're exactly right. Exactly. You're part of the group already, Henry. Let's take a look at week 5. A big week around the league. Let's start with you, Trent. Which game you watching?
I'm gonna have to go Notre Dame and Arkansas, man. For me, can Green, Arkansas quarterback, can he keep up the high performance, man? But can they finish the game? They've been losing, but it's been close games. They've been losing. It's been coming down to the wire. But for me, when you're talking about losing outside the SEC, I hate it. I hate when SEC lose outside. But Notre Dame has been, Notre Dame, and they have a great coaching staff out there, and they got they got a good coaching staff. So, and their quarterback has been playing, pretty good lately, and they have had a solid run game. And so for me, when you got a solid run game, I mean that tops it off.
All right, AJ, who you got?
LSU at Ole Miss. Listen, this one's an interesting matchup. LSU's offense, no matter what Brian Kelly says in his presser, they're struggling to run the football, and I think they're one-dimensional, and it's getting back to a little bit of what it was last year. From you're putting so much pressure on Garrett Nussmeier to go out and perform at such a high level every week to where, I mean, even himself, I don't think he's been playing like himself. Their offense has had some struggles. Listen, they're undefeated, but and then on the flip side of it, Trinidad Chambliss has stepped in well for Austin Simmons and played extremely well. And I mean, does Lane make that switch back if Austin's full, is completely healthy? Like, does he make that swap? I don't know. So I think it's an interesting matchup, and it should be a good one.
Henry, we saved you for last. Wanted to get a little idea of what the flow is on this. So tell us which one you've got.
Well, before I give you my scientifically accurate prediction and what will happen as far as the biggest game of the week, I do got to mention, no matter who wins, everybody, you can always win when using WonderFan. Because
such a professional. Henry Cho never would have given us that.
No shot. He would have come so unprepared. I got to say, being a fan is expensive, and not just on the wallet, but on the soul. So WonderFan helps make it easier for fans to earn and get some of their soul back, get some reward just for being a fan, like it's a job, because it is a job. Now, here's my game. Listen, I got let's talk about nothing else besides Alabama and Georgia. That's what I'm
talking about.
That is the game of the week. And what's so fascinating is you got all of these great, emotionally vested Alabama fans that are so emotionally unstable at the moment. This could go one of two ways. There's two pills here. You got the red pill, where, God forbid, Alabama loses. It's all these social media managers pull up the graphics, the Saban era versus DeBoer era. They're interviewing fans at 7-Eleven saying, if I win the lottery, I'll buy out Kellen DeBoer, more like Kellen DeBus contract. I'll buy him out. Or if they beat Georgia, it's the exact opposite. I always knew that Kellen DeBoer would pull through. I always liked the guy. So that's what's killing me this week is you get to watch this poor guy, DeBoer, who has the biggest shoes to fill in this history of the sport. Give me the Crimson Tide.
Man, I hope you're right. Hey, let's go one more real quick, guys, before we move on. Game outside the SEC. Huge game in the Big Ten from a national perspective, too. Oregon and Penn State. Trent, you got a favorite in this one?
Oregon, Penn State, man, I like what Dan down there doing. I like what Oregon doing. I thought last week game was going to be more of a challenge because it was a rival against Oregon State. But they came in and did what they do. They ran the ball pretty solid. And to watch Oregon run the ball underneath the center is funny to me because when we was playing ball, they did everything from the shotgun, and they had the small, fast guys that, you couldn't catch.
Yep.
And they was tremendous football players. Don't get me wrong. But it was just a different style than what we knew. And so when you talk about Oregon and listen, I like Oregon, Penn State. To me, when we played against Penn State, I ain't gonna do that. But
it was a good memory though. AJ, how about you?
Yeah, Oregon was my preseason pick to win the Big Ten. So I think they were a team that a lot of people weren't talking about. Dan Lanning's a hell of a coach, great recruiter, has done well in the portal. They have a ton of money behind them being at Oregon. So they're able to go out and get guys. I think a lot of guys, thought Dylan Gabriel, losing him was going to be a big factor, but forgot Dante Moore played his freshman year at UCLA, played pretty well. I mean, had freshman mistakes, but showed that the kid can go out and spin it and make plays and create. And he got to sit there for a year and kind of really learn that offense and understand the ins and outs of it. And I think Oregon's playing extremely well right now. And I think they still win the Big Ten.
You gonna make it 3 for 3, Henry, on this one for the Ducks?
Of course. My sister is a Duck. I'm not going to take Penn State. Just can't. I can't stand those guys.
Sounds like a personal issue.
Yeah, I mean, when Penn State gets shoehorned at number 2 to start the year, after they played like Tennessee Tech and Arkansas Valley A&M for 3 weeks. All right, guys. We'll see how that works against Big Ten play. Give me the Ducks by I want an alternate spread of 22.5 because sometimes they go for 2. They go for 2 just to rub it in. I bet you the return to glory of the Ducks. We are in the Oregon-assance, Duck-assance.
Quack, says Henry Markin, and I'll make it 4 for 4 because I just don't believe in James Franklin in a game like this as well. Never good coach, really good coach. Won at Vandy. But still don't think that he is this is the type game that he's going to win. Don't want to get out of here without reminding you get double points or Wonder when you use your Wonder Fans Watch to Earn feature for any of our must-watch games of the week. That's LSU Ole Miss, Arkansas Notre Dame, and, of course, Alabama Georgia. The best part in all this, you can redeem those points for things you actually want, like gift cards from some of your favorite restaurants and retailers. And if you're ready to start getting paid to be a fan, visit wonderfan.com or search for WonderFan in the Apple or Android App Store to download the app WonderFan, where it pays to be a fan. Henry Markin, thanks. We appreciate the time. Tell folks where they can find you, in addition to making appearances on major national podcasts, which is this one.
You can find me in all of your favorite travel catalogs and brochures.
Perfect.
You guys, I'm on social, but more importantly, Go find Wonder Fan. Wonder Fan will help you, especially if you're a Jets fan, Bears fan, UCLA fan, Virginia Tech fan. If you're still alive, use Wonder Fan because no one else will cover you like we will.
Thanks, Henry. Appreciate you. Henry Markin joining us this week on our Wonder Fan must-watch games of the week. All right, guys, let's get back into talking Bama and Georgia, and two key pieces are back for Alabama, we think, this week. Game time, but let's assume that Jam Miller does come back for this ball game. AJ, it's got to be a huge help to Ty Simpson, who's already been fantastic. But if you can get some consistency in the run game to go with it, Alabama's offense could be really electric. But is it simply the return of Jam that will make the run game better?
No.
Okay, next question.
Listen, I think the world of Jam. I think he's a hell of a running back. The running backs haven't been the issue. I mean, it's been the O-line. The O-line creating push up front and opening holes up. Like, it's just not happening right now. So I don't care, and Trent can speak on this more than me because he's played the position, but I don't care if you got Trent back there. Like, you got to have guys up front, the big uglies, open up holes for you. And, I mean, Trent, have you – I know the answer to this, but you've been a part of organizations and teams where your O-line was great up front and then, your O-line wasn't. I mean, does that not make a huge difference for whoever the running back is?
It makes a big difference. Because I tell people all the time, man, listen, I ain't nothing without my O-line. I don't care what anybody say. I can break tackles, I can run people over, but if I can't get started, it's hard. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you look at Derrick Henry's career, when he first started, he wasn't getting the big runs. And then when the O-line got better and he got comfortable with the O-line and, when he was getting pushed, like, he became Derrick Henry, the Derrick Henry we know, right? But it's hard to get started when you're getting touched in the backfield. It's hard to get started when when the guys are in your lap. And so I get it, man. You got to win up front. So my challenge and AJ challenge and Chris challenge is, can we get push up front? That's how we win the big games, is we win up front. We talked about how this offensive line is number one in the SEC or number one overall, this and that in the preseason. So go out there and show it and let's dominate. Let's go impose our will on these guys. Let's go. That's what the Alabama tradition is, to impose your will on guys and take their heart from them.
I want to go one more quick thing before we flip it to defense. AJ, Gunnar Stockton's good quarterback. We knew that coming in. But does Alabama have the advantage at quarterback with the way Ty's playing right now? I mean, I know logically what I think we're maybe going off the 3 week ago thought process with the fact that he was, didn't have a great game against Florida State. Nobody for Alabama did.
Right.
And everybody talked about Stockton in the preseason. But now when you're actually looking at it, some of the throws that Ty has made, the way he can run the football as well, that's as viable a threat as anybody in the SEC based on what he's done the last 2 weeks.
No, 100%. I just, from a competition standpoint, I mean, when I look at, all right, these two teams and the schedules they've played so far, they've each have faced one really good team. I think Florida State's a really good team, and I think Tennessee's a really good team. The way Gunnar performed in the Tennessee game is what won Georgia that ball game. I mean, it just is what it is. So everybody knows how highly I think of Ty. You just haven't seen it from a competition standpoint compared to Gunnar playing against Tennessee. So And the hype or the talk going into that game was against him, really. Hey, they haven't thrown the ball down the field. Gunner hasn't really looked great throwing the ball, and then shit, he comes out, he looks pretty good. And I mean, from a game managing standpoint, when they had to make plays, when he had to make throws, he did it. And I think it's from a talent level standpoint, throwing the football, I think Ty throws the football better than Gunner. But Gunner having a little more experience, playing in big games, being at home. I mean, Ty's got to have a special game. If we can't, run the football and we're not successful on the ground, but I still think it's two really good quarterbacks, and it's going to be a great matchup between those two.
Let's flip it to defense. Trent, there's no question Tim Keenan's a leader, vocal leader at that, and he's been that on the practice field for the last few weeks. But the thinking is he'll be back. We'll see. But the thinking is he'll be back on the field. What impact does he bring to the Alabama defense against a tough physical team like Georgia if he's in uniform and able to go?
I think if he's in uniform or not in uniform, he need to be around. He don't need to be at home. He need to be in those guys' ears. He need to be in those guys' presence because it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference when your captain's out there. It makes a big difference when your leader's out there, and especially if he's playing. And if he's not playing, you don't want to let him down. But, when you're on the field with him, it's a different. Like we didn't, even on the offensive side, we didn't want to let Rolando McClain down when we was playing. And that's big because we know what those guys have went through to get there. And the games that, meant a lot to us that year, he stepped it up every play. And so I see Tim Keenan the same way, and being able to rush the passer and, just to have that leadership out there, man, it's going to be big. And so forcing turnovers, sacking the quarterback is going to be huge for us. Another guy's got to have a big game is Bray. And he's been, he's been having a last 2 weeks, he's had a, pretty big impact on, last week he had a pretty big impact. Last game, he had a pretty big impact in a turnover margin. And so he just got to keep flying around, man. And for real, man, I like the young pups too. I've been big on the young pups. I feel like when Alabama, when they're tired or, guys got to come in or they switching, their formations around, they got to be able to, step up and play. And I'm talking about the second guys, the guys that, they don't really get all the big advertisement. They don't really get all the big picture stuff. The guys that's in there fighting. And for us, man, it was the Nick Gentrys. It was the, the guys that they don't really think that's going to be big and come up really big. Eric Anderson came up really big for us. And the guys that they don't really, the guys that's not the Marcel Dearest, those type of guys, they got to just step up and be big. And for me, with Ty and Georgia defense, Ty got to be athletic. Kirby has always had a problem with a running quarterback, a quarterback that can run and a quarterback that can hit that slant route. And Coach Saban and Coach Kirby has had that same problem. So hopefully, Ty can be, use those legs a little bit more and make them know that, hey, I am a dual threat, and you got to watch everything I do.
Let's close it out with this. AJ, from you, what does Alabama have to do to win this ball game?
I think the most important, I think you got to be able to run the football to open up some play action pass concepts and being able, even if you're not successful from a taking the shot standpoint, you can't allow them to just crowd the box or just play true shell coverage. So even if they're playing shell coverage, we got to find a way to take some shots. But being able to run the football, if they're from a defensive mindset thinking that they can just stop the run by keeping a simple plain box and really just rushing four, I think that's the biggest key to this game. Does Alabama run the ball successful? If they do, and they have some explosive runs, and the average for yards per carry are 4 yards around there, I think Alabama wins the ball game.
Folks, if you're looking for us each week, the dynastybama.com is where you'll find the show. It's where you'll and all your social media platforms for podcasts, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, but social media at the Dynasty Bama is where we ask you to please review, rate, and check us out each and every week. For A.J. McCarron, for Trent Richardson, I'm Chris Stewart. Thanks again for spending some time with us here on The Dynasty, a podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide.